Now, to start off this video, I'm going to be showing a couple of general warm-ups and a couple of specific warm-ups. As a reminder, a general warm-up is a more aerobic, more cardiovascular type of warm-up to get the heart rate up. So to start our first general warm-up, we're starting on the treadmill for about 2 to 3 minutes. For the first 45 seconds to about a minute, you want to be taking a nice, easy, slow walk, like just like I am doing right now in this video. You want to increase your heart rate and then also activating most of the muscles in the body to wake them up and loosen up. Well, during this slow walk, it will be very beneficial to start moving your arms, rotating the body to loosen up the trunk part. So there's getting more range of motion in the shoulders, in the back, and also in the legs. It is also very important to start slow instead of starting at a fast jog or just jogging in general, because you could possibly injure your hips, your calves, or your feet, possibly tear a muscle or pull a muscle. Now, after about a minute has passed, you'll see me increasing the speed, going to a pretty fast-paced walk or at a slow jog for about another minute. As the speed goes up, the muscles should be waking up, and you should be taking quick, smaller steps. Now, for the upper body, the arms should follow the leg movements, which means that when the front leg goes forward, the opposite hand should also go forward, and then the opposite follows. This will definitely help warm up the range of motion in the shoulders and in the hips a lot more than just to walk. Uh, During this, if you're going for a slow jog, uh, you'll be going at a slower pace, running. The strides will be longer to stretch out the quads, and also contracting whenever it hits the ground. Now for that last minute, the body should be fully warmed up, ready to go, and go to a pretty fast jogging pace, almost at a 75% sprint. Some important keys in the last jog is to maintain that core tight and keeping that back straight to keep good posture, letting oxygen going in and out of the body, and really focusing on long strides, getting stronger in the legs and more contraction. The muscle spindles will be really activating, and then also increasing the range of motion in the body. Moving on to the second general warm-up, I'm going to be just jump roping for a couple minutes. This jump rope is a very simple exercise, but this warm-up will definitely activate the muscles in the calves and the feet. This is also one of the very best warm-up exercises to start your plyometric exercises, as this activates a lot of certain muscles that are very specific for plyometric exercises, such as the gastrocnemius and the soleus in the calf. This is also very beneficial in increasing the quickness in the feet and the coordination with the hands and jump rope to time the hops. In this first minute, you want to be jump roping, taking it nice and slow, trying to wake up the calf and the feet muscles, and then really trying to focus on the contraction with those two muscles. As your muscles are warming up, you want to increase the speed and then increase the amount of hops you do, obviously, as you increase the speed. As you increase the speed, this will improve the quickness of your feet coming off the ground. For example, sprinting track athletes, this will definitely help them increase their speed. This will also help improve athleticism and quick explosive movements for certain sports, or if you're just trying to be more athletic in general. During this last minute, the calves should be burning as you keep a constant fast pace as you're trying not to stop. Towards the end of the warm up, you can mess around by doing single leg hops to increase more muscle contraction and should be done about 2 to 3 minutes. For our third and last general warm up that I want to show for our plyometrics training is a somewhat like a shuffling exercise, but it's called karaoke or karaoke. This is a very effective full body warm up as it increases the range of motion in the hips, the glutes, and in the back. Karaoke or karaoke is a lateral warm up drill where it is similar to shuffling, as I said, but it includes different movements, such as whenever you're shuffling, the back leg will be crossing over in front of the body, in front of the other leg, and the body will be turning over. And then taking that extra step, you'll also be crossing over in the back side of the front leg as well. Now, for the most important part of doing that crossover step is to increase the range of motion in the hips and stretching out the glutes whenever you're crossing over, and then as you flex the hip up and over the front leg, you'll feel a deep stretch in those muscles. As you cross over, you want to add a trunk twist the opposite way to increase the range of motion in the spine and stretch the back muscles. With the legs crossing over behind the other leg, it just helps the next step to restart the next front crossover step. After a certain amount of time, the body should be getting used to this movement and allowing more rotation in the back, more depth in the shuffling strides to increase the intensity for the last 30 to 45 seconds of this warm up. This should be done at about a minute and a half or 2 minutes or on 6 to 8 lines on a tennis court. Now we will be moving on to our first specific warm up. Now, a specific warm up, another reminder, it is more of a dynamic stretch, staying in place in one spot, or just having just a forward or lateral stepping. Just like our first specific warm up, we're doing a forward lunge with a trunk twist for about a minute, and then we'll be doing lateral lunges for the next minute. With the forward lunge, you want to start with a hip flexion, also with which means a knee driving up to the body, and then taking a step forward into a lunge position, and then adding a back rotation left and right. Getting out of the lunge position, you'll be driving the back leg in front of you and repeat the same lunge movements. This is a great dynamic warm up as it applies lower body control with the legs and rotational movements in the spine to increase the range of motion in the back. Now the lunge movement will contract the quads and the glutes as you go down and also as you push off the ground. Now, after the first minute, you'll be switching to lateral lunges, and then with these sets of lunges, this will really help increase the range of motion in the hips and your adductor muscles. Uh, Now, with these set of lunges, you'll be taking lateral steps and lunging into that outside leg. And then with that outside leg, you want to slowly shift to the opposite leg and get a good lunge there. Now, with the shifting part is very important because it will improve the flexibility in your hips and keeping the muscles controlled, shifting in the same place. So, for our second specific warm-up, I'm doing something called open and close the gate. So with this exercise, it can either be done in a stationary position or moving forward and backwards like what I'm doing in this video. When I'm walking forward, you'll be performing the close the gate part of this exercise. So the leg is going to take a step forward, has to flex the hip laterally and then internally rotate the hip to take the step forward, and then the back leg will follow with that same movement. Um, on the other way back, going backwards, the legs will do the opposite movement, meaning the legs will flex in front of the body and then externally rotate the leg to the side to move backwards, and then repeat with the other leg. With these two exercises, they are very effective in increasing the mobility in the hips and the flexibility of the muscles surrounding the hips, such as your adductor muscles, which are your gluteus medius and minimus muscles, and also with the other glute, the glute maximus muscle. This will allow more range of motion in the hips to help athletes that do quick change of direction movements, um, as the hip muscles are one of the most essential muscles that are used in changing direction. For the third and final specific warm-up, right before we head into our main exercise program, I am doing uh, something called hip circles. Performing this exercise, your body is going to be in a stationary position, um, legs straight, back straight, chest up, and then having your hands on your hips, just so you can have a feeling in your hands as you're doing the hip circles. Obviously, you're going to be doing a circular movement, but you'll be going clockwise for about 45 seconds and then go counterclockwise for the last 45 seconds. Uh, as you start this exercise, you want to start off with your hips moving forward, and you'll feeling a stretch in the front side of the hips, and then a squeeze in the back, and then doing a circular movement clockwise. As you're leaning to the hips to the right, you're going to feel a stretch in the right obliques. Rotating backward, the hips backwards, you're going to feel a stretch in the lower back, and then rotating to the left, you're going to feel a stretch in the left obliques. Now you'll be repeating this movement until you go to the counterclockwise part and then do the same exact movement. This warm-up will help increase the range of motion in the spine and the hips, surrounding muscles of the back and the hips to start the plyometric exercise. Heading over to the first modality of our exercise program. Here I'm performing an Olympic clean, um, but I'll be showing you two different exercises. So for this first exercise and the first variation that I'm doing is called the high clean. It is very important to know how to pick up the bar though. As shown at the beginning of this clip, the hand should be gripped in a prone position, and then you should be using your legs to drive at the bar instead of forcing it with your back, which could cause a lower back injury. Once you have the bar resting on the thighs, you can perform the hip hinge movement to lower the bar down to right above the knees, about 1 or 2 inches right above, because this is a high clean. From that position, you want to do a quick, powerful hip thrust movement to throw the barbell above the shoulders, and as it reaches shoulder height, you want to throw the elbows in front so you can catch the barbell with your hands and with your shoulders. After catching that bar, you want to finish the clean exercise by squatting down to where the butt will be almost touching the ground, and then you can just drop the weight or drop the barbell down to the ground. Moving on to the last variation for the high clean exercise, I am performing something called the hang power clean. With this variation, it is a mixture of two different clean exercises, one called the power clean and one called the hang clean, which we have already done. I will explain more about the power clean in the upcoming videos, but you'll be performing a power clean movement in a hang clean position. To start off, we want to make sure that we want to lift the barbell up correctly again with our legs and not with our backs. After hip hinging with this variation, as we do in almost all of our clean exercises, we are focusing more on the legs pushing into the ground and doing a mini jump instead of lifting it or keeping it on our thighs. The mini jump will help raise the bar above the shoulders to throw and also to throw the elbows in front of you to be able to catch it. After catching, the only difference from the other cleans that we have talked about, you are doing a partial squat. to finish the repetition. The difference with this is having exploding more with the legs into the ground than a hip thrust. Moving on to the second variation of the high cleans, I am performing something called the high hang clean. During this high hang clean exercise, these are one of the most popular variations in in a Olympic or powerlifting competition setting. Just like in that last clip, um, to pick up the bar, you want to use your legs and keep that back straight, so you don't have to cause any injuries in that lower back. Now, performing the high hang clean is more about explosiveness with the legs and the hips. So you want to do a deeper hip hinge, but still keeping that bar right above the knees. And then most important part is exploding out of that position with with the hip thrust, and also doing a mini jump to force the barbell throw up and above the shoulders. And then again, you want to thrust those elbows right in front of you so you can catch that barbell on your hands and shoulders. While performing that hip thrust movement, you want to make sure before the hip thrust movement, you need to have the bar reach the top of the thigh around the hips and then do the explosive hip thrust. For the hang clean, after catching the barbell, you must get into a full squat to finish one repetition, but the difference in the clean and the hang clean is that the clean you get deeper than a normal squat. Now we will be moving on to the second exercise of the Olympic cleans, and this one is called low cleans, which means that the bar will be dipping below the knees instead of above the knees like we did from the first exercise. So for the first variation, I'm performing something called the low hang clean. It is the same exact movement as the high hang clean, but again, the only difference is that the bar will be dipping below the knees as you are doing the hip hinge movement. Just like the last couple of rounds, you want to be picking up the bar with the legs and not with your back. Once you have picked up that bar at your thighs, then you want to perform the hip hinge until the bar reaches below the knees. And then as you pull up the bar needs to stay on the thighs until it reaches to the hip, and then doing that same hip thrust movement to throw the bar up. Again, with that hip thrust, throwing the elbows in front to catch the bars with the hands and the shoulders. And then since this is a hang clean variation, you want to get into that full squat after catching that barbell. This is a way more intense version of the high hang clean because you need to produce more force because of the deeper hip hinge. For our last variation of these clean exercises, we will be using a whole different equipment other than the barbell. This variation, I am demonstrating something called the kettlebell cleans. This can either be done with one or two kettlebells, but in this video, I am just demonstrating with one kettlebell for to show how to do these movements. Since this is still part of the low clean exercise, we will be doing a hip hinge until the kettlebell is going to be below the knees. You'll still do the clean movements to perform this exercise during the catching part. The kettlebell will be swinging all the way up, around until it hits the back part of the wrist. This type of variation is an easier way to learn how to perform the clean movement, or if you think you're not ready for the bar yet, this is an easy place to start. Because this is an easier variation, you should be able to do more repetitions than any normal clean exercise with the barbell. Even though this is an easier way to perform this movement, does not mean you don't have to be as explosive because you still want to do the same exact clean movement. You want to keep that same intense explosive jump with as a normal clean, but you're using the kettlebell. If you are only using one kettlebell, you will always want to do them bilaterally to work both sides to know the movement with the other hand. Moving on to the next variation of the second exercise, I will be performing something called the power cleans. With this variation, It is a set of cleans that is very popular in Olympic and powerlifting competition settings. Now, the difference with the power cleans and then the other variations of cleans is that the power cleans will always start on the ground, so you won't have to do the picking up with the legs before that clean movement. Now, for the power cleans, you are making an explosive clean movement starting from the ground until you catch it on your shoulders. To perform this exercise well, you need to be able to drive the feet into the ground strong and performing that hip thrust movement right away. Also, after catching that barbell, you want to do a partial squat instead of a full squat because this is a power clean. And as you catch it, just drop the weight on the ground. Performing all these clean movements will take a lot of time and a lot of practice to be able to start increasing the weight. So it is best to be very patient with these exercises as it will be a lot of trial and error until you get it right. Moving on to our second modality, I am performing the lower body plyometric exercises. For the first set of plyometrics exercises, I am demonstrating box jumps. But for this first variation, this is called alternating leg push-off. This exercise is not necessarily of a box jump exercise, but it's a half lunge jump. In the beginning of this video, I am showing the basic movements of the exercise as I lunge down and jumping up. But then as you get used to the movement, feeling more comfortable with it, you want to speed up these jumps because the target for this exercise is to do it as fast as you can, um, so you can be more explosive with your feet in your sport. You'll be starting with one foot on the box, and then the other one will be on the ground, keeping the back nice and tall. And the goal is to push off on the leg that is on that box, jumping as high as you can, and then alternating feet, landing with the other leg on the box and the other leg on the ground. By the middle and end of this video, you'll see the full motion going as fast as I can, and you'll be feeling a burn in the quadriceps and the glutes when you speed up these jumps. Moving on to our second variation, I am performing the double leg box jumps. With this variation is the basic exercise for box jump. This can be done in two different ways. One focusing on each explosive jump at a time, or the other one is focusing on quick explosive jumps, hopping on and off the box as fast as you can. But in this video, I'm focusing on the one explosive jump on every single repetition. So focusing on a higher box, getting one explosive jump every single time. With this exercise, you want the box to be in front of you and then squat down, jump as explosive as you can until landing on the box. There are two important features that I want to talk about in this exercise is to focus on moving with your hands and then landing correctly. When I say moving with your hands, whenever you're squatting down, you want the hands and arms to move back, and as you jump, the hands will follow up. Now, as you land, you want to land back into the squat position quietly, and then with your hands back in that same position as that starting squat jump behind your body. After performing that one repetition, you want to take a step down and then repeat these movements. Moving on to our last variation of box jumps, I am performing the lateral box jumps this time. Just like in our last video of box jumps, you are jumping with both legs and then jumping laterally this time. Uh, you'll be using mostly the same muscles as the normal box jumps, but with the outside leg, it'll be extending a lot more than the inner leg because you'll be pushing more off with the vastus lateralis of the quad and the outer muscles of the calf, such as the tibialis anterior and the outer part of the gastrocnemius and the soleus. Just like in our last video, we are focusing more on the explosiveness in each jump. And again, with these jumps, you want to use the arms to help you jump more explosively, and then it will also help you guide the body to jump in that lateral direction. When you are landing on the box, it is very important to try to land with both legs evenly into the box, as it helps with coordination, and then land back into the squat position and with the hands and arms behind you. This exercise will hugely benefit tennis, volleyball, and basketball athletes because they involve a lot of explosive lateral jumping or lateral sprinting movements. Moving on to our second exercise for lower body plyometrics. This exercise and variation is called depth jumps, and in this video, this is the standard depth jumps exercise. And to start off, you will be starting on the box, unlike the box of starting on the ground. Um, as you'll be standing on the edge of the box, and then as you take a step forward, you'll fall to the ground. And as you touch that ground with both feet, you will immediately explode up as fast and as high as you can, and then land standing not completely upright, but into a mini squat to land perfectly where you will not injure your knees. And this will count as one repetition. And to repeat that movement, just step on back to the box and repeat. When you're hopping off the box, you can either alternate the foot that leads, or you can do a couple of repetitions with the left and then do the same with the opposite foot. This will help be more coordinated with each leg as you focus on one leg at a time. And this will also help with being more explosive on your feet right after when you plant your feet on the ground, just like you are when you sprint. Moving on to our second variation of depth jumps, we are performing the depth jump onto another box. The title of this exercise is pretty self-explanatory, but you can also see how it is set up in this video. Um, of course, I'll be performing the depth jump from the first box, and then right whenever I fall on the ground, you want to exploding as fast and as high as I can onto the second box. As you can see in my video that the second box is lower than the first box, but for the goal of this exercise, you want the box to be at least the same level or even higher than the first box. And this also depends on how experienced you are doing this exercise or how athletic you are. This is obviously a way more difficult variation of the depth jump as it involves more power to jump onto that second box. Just like in the first box jump video, I talked about using the arms to help you jump up. This will do the same thing with this. Right when you land on the ground, you want to swing your arms up as fast as you can to give some extra momentum, and you'll be doing this for a certain amount of time or repetition. For the third and last variation of the lower body plyometrics depth jump exercise, I am performing the depth jump into a squat position. This is another self-explanatory exercise, but with this one, you'll be performing the depth jump, and as you jump off the ground, you want to land into a squat position. And then again, with this depth jump, you want to take a step forward, land on both feet, and then from the ground, you want to jump immediately off, straight up as high as you can, and then land in that squat position. This variation focuses more on the lower body control whenever you land in that squat position. Again, another very important detail with the arms. As you jump up from the ground, you want to explode your arms up to give extra momentum, and then as you go down into that squat position, land with the arms and hands behind your body and in an athletic squat position. With these depth jump exercises, they're very beneficial for basketball, volleyball, and track athletes. These exercises will be quick and explosive on their feet, shooting a shot in basketball, blocking a spike in volleyball, or even track athletes performing the triple jump. All right, now we'll be heading over to our third modality of our exercise program. I am performing the upper body plyometrics this time, but I'm going to be using medicine ball. Now there's different types of styles of upper body plyometrics, but the most common type of exercise is using the medicine ball. So for our first exercise and our first variation, I'm performing medicine ball slams. Also, but this variation is called overhead medicine ball slams. Um, with this variation, you can either be kneeling or standing. Um, in this video, I'm in a kneeling position, so I am focusing more on the core and the shoulders and the triceps. But if we were to be standing, you would need to produce more force to slam the ball down, so you'll be using your whole trunk. Although you'll have more support with that, with the legs, and producing more force, but you're not focusing more on the upper body. With this variation, you want to hold the ball over your head and throw down to the ground in front of you as hard as you can, and then catch the ball as it comes up. During this exercise, you want to focus on throwing as many times as you can with the power to activate the core muscles. Heading over to our second variation, we are doing something similar to the overhead slams, but you'll be throwing more diagonally going left and right. Uh, this exercise is called rainbow slams. You'll be performing basically the same movement as the overhead slams, but you're focusing more on the obliques than the abdominal muscles in the overhead slams. With this exercise, you can either be kneeling on your knees or standing on the feet. In this video, I am kneeling again, just like the overhead slams, so I can activate more on the obliques than thinking about power in all of my throws. For this variation, as you're slamming the ball on the ground to the left side, you will catch that ball with the hands, then hover over your head, rotate the body, and then slam it right back down on the right side. This is why it's called rainbow slams, because as you hover over your head, it is shaped somewhat like a rainbow. If you repeat this same movement over time, this will activate the lower back, the obliques, and the shoulders. This exercise will definitely help athletes that involve a lot of rotational movements such as shot put, golf, and tennis. Moving on to our final variation of the medicine ball slams, we will be doing something called the chest slams. With this exercise, you will not be holding the ball over the head, just like you were doing in the other medicine ball slam exercises, but with this one, you'll be holding it right in front of your chest. This one you can either be doing standing upright um, in front of a wall, so you can throw the medicine ball at the wall, or the way that I am doing it, leaning forward, leaning the body forward with the ball in front of the chest, and then throwing it down on the ground as hard as you can, so the ball will come right back up to your chest area or into your arms. With this variation, you'll be activating the triceps, the deltoids, and the chest muscles, of course. The back and core muscles will always be contracted and activated to keep the body stable when you're leaning forward. And then with all these medicine ball slam exercises, you can either do it for 30 seconds to a minute or a certain amount of repetitions you're looking for. You are still focusing on each slam on how hard you want to throw the ball down to activate all these muscles. Now, as we finish going over the medicine ball slams for the upper body plyometrics, we'll be moving on to the second exercise for the upper body. Uh, this time we'll be doing medicine ball throws with a partner instead of slamming it to the ground. With the first variation of this exercise, we are performing the overhead throws. Just like the overhead slams from the first exercise, um, we are starting with the medicine ball hovering over the head, but instead of slamming it downwards, we're going to be throwing it forward to your partner. And the difference with the slams and the throws is that the throws will be concentrating more in the arms rather than the core muscles when you're slamming it down. Uh, After throwing that medicine ball to your partner, he or she will toss the ball back. Try to be over your head, and then, of course, you want to catch it above your head and restart that movement. When catching the ball, you want to keep that core tight to stabilize the body in an upright form so your body doesn't fall back as you catch the ball. And then during the throwing mechanic of this exercise, you're mainly using the triceps and shoulders to throw that ball. Moving on to our second variation of this exercise, I am performing something called the alternating rotational throws. To set up this variation, I'm going to have your partner stand a couple feet in front of you, and then your body will be either facing the right or left depending where you want to start. First, you want your legs to be placed about shoulder width apart, and if the ball's in your hands, then you want to be rotating to one side. So for example, let's say we start on the right side, you want to rotate to the right, load up that throw, and then to throw it, you want to fully rotate the opposite way, throw the ball straight towards your partner. As your partner catches the ball, he will throw it back to you, but on the left side of your body, and you'll catch it rotating and then throwing it, rotating the opposite way. This action of this exercise is basically just like hitting a forehand and a backhand in tennis. This exercise will hugely benefit in increasing the stabilizing muscles of the core and also the back. This will also activate the muscles in the shoulders, forearms, and the biceps. For example, whenever you're catching the ball, the arm should be slightly bent, and as you catch it, you'll be squeezing your biceps and your forearms when holding that ball, and then as you throw, you'll be adding the shoulder and core activation, throwing it back to your partner. And again, this is hugely beneficial for rotating sports, especially tennis and baseball for this exercise. Moving on to our final variation of the medicine ball throws, I am performing the sit-up throw variation. This sounds more like a core exercise rather than upper body, but it depends on the positioning of the medicine ball where you're throwing it. Um, in this video, the way I'm holding the ball is having my arms slightly bent, and as you keep it bent uh, when you're throwing the ball towards your partner. You want to start by laying on the back in hook lying position, which means that the knees will be bent uh, and the feet are flat on the ground. Uh, to keep the back on the ground, you want to do a posterior pelvic tilt to keep the core tight the whole time in this variation. The ball will be above your head in your hands, and you'll be performing the sit-up movement and throwing the ball at your partner, keeping them bent again. As you go down, the partner needs to throw the ball a little bit above your head for you to catch, and so you can restart the motion as you go back down, laying on your back. As the, as you catch the ball going down, you want to go down slowly, activating the abdominal muscles to finish this exercise. Moving on to our second half of our exercise program, the fourth modality of this video, I am going to be performing the agility ladder speed drills. Since we are focusing on the speed part of this drill, we want to go through the agility ladder as fast as we can. Now for the first exercise, we're going to be focusing on having one foot in each ladder every single time. So for the first variation, I'm doing the forward sprint through the ladder. In the beginning of this video, I want to show, um, I want to do it slowly because I want to show how um, this exercise is performed. This movement is very simple. You will just be running through the ladder as quickly as possible, forward, and then turning back to the starting point. This will help with the feet coordination as well. It would help with feet control as you are running at the fastest speed as you can, but also focusing on having one foot in each box at a time. This will benefit many sports that involve quick feet movements such as tennis or baseball, and especially baseball players because they have to make quick adjustments on the field when running for a ball that's rolling on the ground. Now heading over to our second variation of the 1 foot at a time on the speed drills. We're going to be doing the lateral dash this time. With this movement, it can be a little bit tricky because it's somewhat similar to the shuffling movement, but the feet will be moving a lot quicker and a shorter distance than focusing on that light stride as a normal shuffle. As shown in the video right now, again, I'm going slow to show you the correct footwork and show you the right movement when performing this exercise. Once you get used to the movement little by little, you want to make sure, of course, speed up your feet because this is a speed drill. This will hugely improve the feet coordination, activating the glutes, like your abductor muscles, and then also increasing the strength in the hips. Another movement you can add is swinging your arms um, as you are taking quick steps, just for the coordination with the hands and the legs, trying to match the same speed with each other. Moving on to our last variation of the speed ladder drills, going 1 foot in each box at a time. We're going to be doing the single leg hops. Just like the title says, we will be hopping on one leg in each box. As you're starting this exercise, you want to start by hopping on one leg as you go through one part of the ladder, and then you can alternate feet going backwards. But then later on, when the alternating part gets too easy, then you want to go there and back with the same foot, and then alternate to the other foot. Now, if you've been an athlete for a long time and you're already used to this movement, you want to be going for about 30 seconds to a minute on that one leg the whole time until time's up, and then moving to the opposite leg so you can finish that one set. This exercise will hugely benefit the quickness in the feet and the muscles in the calves from hopping at a fast pace, jumping up and down and forward off the ground, increasing muscle strength and endurance in the calves. This will hugely benefit track athletes that does short sprints or jumping, especially 100-meter sprinters be benefited with quickness coming off the feet or triple jumps with the single leg jumping off the ground. Now we will be heading over to our second part of the speed ladder drills, and this time we're going to be going both feet in the box. Not necessarily at the same time, but making sure both feet will be touching the same box. For the first variation, we will be doing forward dashes again, but again, um, both feet in each box this time instead of a single foot. The difference with this forward dash and the other one is that we have to move our feet a lot quicker because we're doing more steps in this ladder, uh, and also focusing on the coordination with the legs and the arms. Now, since this is the agility drill, the goal is to go through the ladder as quickly as possible. Now, the focus is to move the legs as fast as possible with control to run through this ladder, and also using your hands as you're running forward. This will constantly activate the muscles in the calf, such as the soleus and the gastrocnemius, and also the muscles in the feet. With all these ladder drills, you want to be constantly on your toes. If the whole foot is flat, then the focus of the variation is gone and could possibly lead to an injury. Staying on the toes will constantly activate the calves and feeling the burn in the legs. This variation should be done for time or about amount of times you go through the ladder. Moving on to the second variation of this exercise of both legs, I'm going to be performing the high knees. If you are just starting exercising, then you should take it slow to find your rhythm doing these high knees on the ladder. But if you're already used to it, you got to go as fast as you can. You're already an athlete. Now, as you adjust to the movement, you want to speed up. You want to speed up the amount of times you jump jump the feet off the ground. The original movement, you are driving the knee up in the hip flexion movement, and then going up with the other leg as well as you put the other foot down. Another important movement is adding the arms uh, to help with the coordination, just like you do whenever you're sprinting or running. Um, for example, as my right knee goes up, my left arm should follow going up as well, and then the opposite, of course. The goal for this exercise is to do the high knees as fast as you can, uh, but keeping at a controlled pace so the feet touches each box going through this ladder. This will hugely improve the speed in sprinting, the range of motion in the hips, the calf and glute muscle endurance. This will be very beneficial for most track athletes, improving their sprint speed from getting the feet off the ground very quickly. Moving on to our last variation of the speed agility ladder drills, we are going to be doing the double leg hops. Now, this is an easier variation of the single leg hops, of course, because you'll be using both feet instead of one leg and putting less strain on that single leg. The focus is still to go as fast as you can, going through the ladder, but it is also very important to try and land on both feet at the same time. Now, this is important because you want to find the coordination with your feet landing at the same time, and it's a lot more difficult than it looks because you might land on one side more than the other. Um, Again, this will help improve the coordination with the feet and then also the muscle endurance in the calves. As you start to find the rhythm landing on both feet, you want to start speeding up as quickly as possible. The speed up will help do the muscle contractions in the calves, and it will also help improve the explosiveness in the calves, uh, jumping or sprinting, just like basketball or volleyball athletes, because of the explosiveness in every jump, making quick feet adjustments. Now we are moving on to our fifth modality of this exercise workout program. I'm going to be performing with the agility ladder again, but this time we will be focusing more on the quickness of the feet instead of the speed going all the way through the ladder. For the first exercise, we're going to be running forward on the ladder, and then for our first variation, I am demonstrating the in and out hops. This is more of a simpler quickness drill with the ladder. As you can see in this video, that I'm just hopping both feet in the box and then out of the box. This could be done in two different ways, depending on what you feel more comfortable with. You can either have your knees bent to almost 90 degrees or being almost completely straight up like I am in this video. With the ones in the mini squat position being almost 90 degrees, this will be in a more athletic position, focusing on the calves and the quadriceps. But the way I'm doing it, being more straight up, you're focusing more on the calves. This is very beneficial for almost all sports as they need to react with the feet quicker to run to the ball or making quick, small feet adjustments. Now we will be heading over to our second variation of the forward exercise. I am performing something called the Icky Shuffle. This is personally one of my favorite quick feet drills with this ladder because to me it is more satisfying going through the whole ladder as quick as possible. And it's very fun. Uh, this variation is also more difficult than the last quick feet drill, especially going at a fast pace. In the beginning of this video, I want to go slowly to demonstrate the correct movements. So to begin, you will be standing on one leg, either the left or the right leg on the side of the box. Then you'll be with the leg in the air, taking a step in the box, and the other leg following, stepping into the box, and then taking that first leg out of the box, and then the other leg will be in the air. You'll repeat this movement all the way through the ladder and all the way back. This might take a while to get used to, especially if you as you increase the speed. So you want to be patient and then focusing on each step you take before increasing the speed. This will obviously help with the coordination with the feet and also activating the calf muscles. Finally, we'll be moving on to our third and last variation of our forward exercise. This one I am demonstrating something called the in and out speed drill. This drill is somewhat similar to the in and out hops that we did in the first variation of this exercise, but instead we'll be taking steps instead of hopping, of course. Um, to perform this exercise, you want to start by taking both steps into the box and then stepping out of the box, repeating. But make sure you're doing it one at a time and not both at the same time, because then that would just become the in and out hops. Um, so in my mind, that really helps me not mess up is that I would repeat in my head saying in, out, in, out as I'm taking each step, um, just so I don't mess up anything. This is a really simple movement and can be done really quickly as you get used to it. It won't take as long as the Icky Shuffle, but again, this will help with the coordination and what steps you're taking, focusing on what steps, and then also activating the quadriceps. Most of these ladders should be done for about to time, about a minute for each variation, really focusing on the quickness on each step. Now that we have finished the first exercise going forward in this modality, for the second exercise, we're going to be moving laterally. Um, so, for the first variation, I'm going to be performing the in, out drill. So, somewhat similar to the forward one, but also not. So, with this variation, is another simple variation to understand the movements of this drill, and by the name of it, we're going to be taking one step at a time, both feet touching in the box and then touching out of the box. So again, from our last video, it really helps me to think in my mind going in, out, in, out with each step to help with the coordination. An important key is to always start with the leading foot um, as you move laterally to work on the coordination with one foot leading and then going the opposite with the opposite foot leading. As you start to pick up the pace, you will start to feel the calves burning a lot more while they stay fully contracted throughout the whole exercise. Um, this will benefit a ton of athletes that do a lot of quick sprints or doing a lot of backpedaling as it works on the quickness of changing direction and then taking a step forward and taking a step back and repeating that movement all the way through. Moving on to our second variation, not only are we working the quickness in the feet, but also the quickness in the hips. Uh, the name of this variation is either called scissor jumps or scissor hops. This is not necessarily a difficult movement to learn, but it will take some time to understand the coordination and also making sure each foot lands in the box or out of the box. As you can see in this video, there are a couple of times that I have either missed the box or forget which foot goes in or out of the box because of going at a fast pace. So to start off, you want to have the leading foot whichever way you are moving laterally to start in the box, and then with the other foot outside of the box. Then you want to do a mini jump or hop moving laterally while the hips are rotating so the other leg can go in the box and then that leading foot going outside of the box. Repeating this movement all the way through, and then as you rotate the hips, you want to keep the core activated the whole time so the whole body isn't rotating and only the lower part of the body. Another thing that I like to add is when using my arms to help me rotate with the hips. For example, if I rotate my hips to the right, my arms will move to the left, and rotating my hips to the left, the arms will move to the right. This, of course, will benefit the muscle activation in the hips, glutes, and calves, but it will also increase range of motion in the spine. Now we are heading over to our last variation and the last exercise for the quickness drill with the agility ladder. Um, I'm demonstrating something called 2/1 bunny hops. This exercise is very simple, but then as you speed up, it might get a little confusing, or you might hitting the ladder a little more often. With this exercise, you are going to be hopping with both legs, moving laterally on the ladder, of course, but you will be hopping two boxes and then going back one time and then repeating all the way through that ladder. This drill will take a lot longer time to going through the whole ladder, so this will really activate the calves a lot more than any other ladder drill that I have performed in this video. With this variation, it will really help with the foot and eye coordination as you're focusing on the two hops forward and then going back one, um, and then also will benefit the quick change of direction movements from the outside leg pushing off to the next box. Um, for sports, this will benefit a lot of basketball athletes making quick change of directions while dribbling the ball, or the tennis athletes running for a ball and then changing direction going back to the middle of the court. As we are finishing up this exercise program, we are on our sixth and last modality. We are going to be working on quick reaction drills with the tennis ball. So for the first exercise, we're going to be reacting to the ball facing the opposite direction of your partner that you're going to have who's holding the tennis ball. So basically a blind reaction. For the first variation, we'll be starting off with one tennis ball. To start off, you want to be about 5 feet away from your partner, facing the other way, and then being in an athletic position. As you can see in the video, before I react to the ball, I'm in an athletic stance, meaning that I'm in a mini squat position with the hips hinging back and then the arms up, ready to move. The partner is going to have the ball in either hand about shoulder height away from his body. Uh, when your partner yells go, you want to face his direction and then catch the ball before it bounces twice. An important key for this exercise is from the athletic position that you are in. When your partner yells go, you want to do a split step as you turn around quickly. This will help react to the ball faster and also take off quicker. Another important key is to catch the ball with the hand you're running towards. For example, if the partner drops the ball on the right side, I want to catch the ball with the right hand. Heading over to our second variation, we are going to be performing with two balls instead of one. This drill is going to be the same drill as the last video, but set up slightly different because obviously we have two balls. So you'll be starting again about 5 feet away from your partner, facing the other way. And then with this variation, the partner will have one arm lower than the other arm. So one arm will be about shoulder height, or maybe a little bit above, and then one arm a little bit below the shoulder height. Um, with this variation, the partner will be dropping both balls at the same time when he yells go. And then again, you'll be in the athletic stance. Before turning around, you want to do the same split step movement. Um, and then the goal for this variation is to catch the ball that um, drops first or whatever is lower first, and then react to catch the second ball after catching the first one. Just like the last video, you want to catch the ball with the hand you're running towards, and then catch the second ball with the other open hand. This drill will definitely help with the first reaction step and hand-eye coordination when catching the ball, and will help athletes with the reaction time. Heading over to our last variation of the blind reaction to the tennis ball, we are going to be reacting to a ball that is going to be thrown at us. This is an easier version of the first variation, as you don't have to react to take the step forward and catch the ball, but you have to react with which hand you're going to be catching the ball with, as it is being thrown towards you. With this variation, you will still be facing the opposite direction of the partner, but the partner is going to be throwing at you either on the right side of the body or the left side of the body. The goal for this variation is to react to which hand you're going to be catching with. If the ball is thrown to the left side of the body, you want to catch with the left hand, and the same goes for the opposite side. Um, this is obviously an easier drill because you're just trying to focus on catching the ball. Obviously, you're going to mess up a couple of times, but don't worry about it. It's working on your reaction drills. This will hugely benefit the hand-eye coordination in which hand you are choosing to catch with, and also reacting as quick as possible to move the hand where the ball is thrown.
Now that we have finished the blind reaction exercise for exercise one, we're moving on to our second exercise. We will be facing towards our partner this time. So for our first variation, we're going to be doing a reaction drill, tossing the ball at our partner um, over the tennis net. With this variation, you want to be standing about 2 feet away from the net and the partner on the other side about 2 feet as well. The partner is going to be randomly tossing wherever he wants, obviously in your area, but you still want to be moving side to side, and the goal is to catch every single one and toss it back to the partner. As you toss the ball back to the partner, he or she will toss the second ball. This will improve the footwork and quickness of the feet and hand-eye coordination and work on reaction skills.
Heading over to our second variation of this exercise, I'm going to be demonstrating something called the lunge reaction drill. This is a more difficult type of reaction drill because you have to be more explosive in reacting with your feet and getting off the ground as quick and short as possible. With this variation, you will be in a lunge or track starting position about 5 feet away from your partner, and the partner with the ball in his hand will have it leveled with his shoulder and off to the side. The goal is to catch the ball with only one bounce. And again, you want to catch the ball in the hand that you are leading with. For example, if the partner drops on the left side, you want to catch with the left hand, and the same for the opposite side. As you can see, I have messed up a couple of times again, that which is an instinct to catch with my left hand more, as I am more right-handed. I've always caught with my left hand. This will improve with the hand-eye coordination, first step explosiveness, which could benefit track sprinting athletes. This will also increase the strength in the glutes and the calves to get out of the lunge position as quickly as possible and sprinting towards the ball. Finally, we are moving on to our last variation and the last workout of this exercise program. For our last variation, we will be doing the single ball drill again, just like the one in exercise one and variation one of this uh, modality, but we'll be facing our partner. This is obviously an easier variation compared to the blind reaction drill, which means that this is more for the younger or beginner athletes that need to improve on reacting quicker. So, the only difference between the blind reaction and with this variation is that the partner will be holding two balls about shoulder height, but will only drop one of them. So you will still be about 5 feet away, maybe 7 feet away, depending on how experienced you are as an athlete. And the partner this time will not say go, as you can see what he'll be doing and what ball is dropping. So the partner will decide when and which ball it will drop. The goal again is to react with the hand you're running towards, work on the hand-eye coordination with both hands. Um, this will help improve your reaction speed, the first step quickness to react to the ball. This will benefit a lot of baseball athletes or tennis athletes going to where the ball is going to be. All right, now we have finished the exercise workout part of our video. We will be going through a couple of stretches that will be very beneficial for the body after a whole workout session. So, for the first stretch, I'm doing something called LTR, or also known as lumbar trunk rotation. This is a rehab type of exercise that is usually seen in physical therapy. Um, First, you'll be laying in a hook-lying position, which means that you'll be laying on your back, uh, bending the knees about 45 degrees, and then the feet will be flat on the ground. Um, and then for the movement part of the stretch, you're going to be swaying the knees to the side, to the right and left side, slowly, and holding each side for a couple of seconds. Um, this will be very beneficial and it's going to be a nice stretch for the lower back and also a good rotation and for the lumbar spine and the surrounding muscles in the back and the hips. This exercise should take about a minute to a minute and a half. This will help loosen up the tight muscles and help with the range of motion in the spine. Now we'll be moving on to the next stretch for the lower back. I'm doing something called Swiss ball rollouts. Um, this exercise is not only good for the lower back, but is very beneficial for stretching the thoracic part of the spine, the serratus anterior, and the latissimus dorsi, or the latissimus dorsi. Um, First, you'll be seated on a chair with the feet on the ground, kind of spread apart, and then the Swiss ball, or if some people call it physio ball, right in between the legs in front of you. You'll have the hands right on top of the top part of the ball, and then you want to roll the ball all the way in front of you, bending your back down, and then going as far as you can to feel a stretch in the lower back and in the arms as you stretch out. You will hold that stretch for about a couple seconds and then roll back towards the middle. And then you can also go diagonally, both left and right side, to stretch out the obliques. Now, if you roll out to the left, about 45 degrees to the left, you'll be stretching the right obliques. And then rolling over to the right side, you'll stretch the left obliques. This will definitely help with tight lower back and help athletes do a lot more rotational movements. Moving on to the next stretch, it's another low back stretch, but also helping the upper body. We're doing something called thread the needle, adding a twist, a rotational twist. This stretch is very helpful for increasing the flexibility in the whole upper body and in the lower back. Um, to get into this position for the stretch, you want to first get into child's pose position, and then with having left arm out, and then the right arm is going to be tucking in between the ground and the left arm, holding that position for a couple of seconds, and then opening up, following your eyes with your hand as you rotate, looking up to the sky, holding that couple seconds, and go back down. And then you'll repeat that a couple times, and then move over to the left side and get the left side, left shoulder as well. Moving on to our next stretching exercise. This is for the thoracic part of the spine, also the latissimus dorsi and the triceps. This stretch can either be called the T-spine with lat stretch or the bench thoracic stretch. This has to be done on an elevated surface, either on a bench or a box. With this video, I'm using a box Um, and then you want to keep the elbows on top of the box with the knees on the ground. You want to keep the back straight, pulling the body backwards towards the feet or doing a hip hinge movement, and also keeping the neck looking down as you go back. You want to repeat this movement a couple of times because you'll be holding that stretch at the bottom for about 3 to 5 seconds and then come back up. This will keep the thoracic part of the spine straight and then feeling a stretch in the lats and the triceps. All right, now we will be moving on to the next stretch. This is more involved with the hips. So this next one, we're going to be doing something called the pigeon stretch. To start off, we're going to be, you need an elevated table or a box or something um, to bring one leg up. You want the whole bottom part of the leg, the tibia and the fibula, to be on the box or the table. Um, and then the other grand's planted on the ground. You want to go deep uh, down, pushing the body down to get a real stretch in the hip flexor area and the groin. To go down, you want to bend that bottom leg um, to almost 90 degrees, letting your whole body hang on the box, doing a couple seconds, and then go up and go back down into that same movement. All right, now for the next hip flexor stretch, um, we're going to be working on the hip flexors, which is also called a hip flexor stretch. To start off, you're gonna need an elevated box or a table, just like last time. In the pigeon stretch, you're going to be uh, getting the foot on top of the box this time, not the leg. Um, Having the foot flat on the table or on the box, and then you want to lean forward to feel tightness in the hip flexor area and really trying to compress it, and this will help loosen up when you back out of the stretch. You're gonna hold for a couple seconds and release and do that a couple of times, and then also working on the other leg as well to get the same flexibility in both hips. For the next stretching video, well, this is not necessarily a stretch, but more of a massage. Um, I'm demonstrating right now rolling the foot with the golf ball. With this exercise program, we were on our feet a lot with the agility ladder and also with the reaction drills. Um, so the feet need to be cared for and need to be massaged out. So the goal is to roll the golf ball from heel to toe and from side to side, really releasing all the tension in the feet. There are a lot of small muscles in the feet um, and then the toes, but they don't get treated enough, uh, and they are just as important as any other muscle in the body. So you don't want to go too fast, and because it is very beneficial to go slow and then focus on each muscle that is being rolled on that golf ball. The pressure is all up to you, depending on how strong or how soft you want to push down and getting a really good deep massage. If you want to focus more on massaging the arch of the foot, then I would recommend using a tennis or lacrosse ball to massage that part. Uh, One more massaging technique that I want to demonstrate is using the massage roller. You've probably seen this in a lot of workout videos and everything, and this can be found in any athletic store like Dick's or Academy. Um, so in this video, I am going to be mainly focusing on rolling out the calf muscles because again, they got one of the most strains in this exercise program. So you'll be starting off by sitting on the ground with the legs straight, one on top of the other, and then the roller is going to be placed under the bottom leg, um, around the ankle area at the Achilles tendon. The hands will be the one uh, guiding you, so they will be on the ground behind. They'll guide the body to move up and down for the roller to move from the ankle and then all the way up to the knee and all the way back down. As you roll out a couple of times down the middle of the calf, that is the soleus part of the calf. So you also want to make sure you get rotate the leg a couple of times to get the outside part of the calf, which is called the gastrocnemius. After you roll out about 30 to 45 seconds, you want to switch to the other leg and repeat the same thing.